challenge candidates here to put their thinking caps on in the office of mayor. You've just been elected. Thank you. You've just been elected the mayor of this beautiful city. We have the new F-35 fighter jets, the Red Tails, right down the street here, Selma Mobile Highway. This is a $98 million investment in our city. $3 billion for the river region. Tell me, how would your office address bringing those jobs into this city and now missing the least of us? How would you ensure that, again, the high-tech jobs that are coming to Montgomery will not be filled by people outside of this state and outside of this region of Montgomery?
In doing so, you have to update city policies and plans. So if you want to have a company come in and do business, you must let them know that you must hire a certain percentage of people that stay in Montgomery. So you can do 30 or you can do 40%. That would eliminate the situation that we may have going on at Hyundai. I've talked to some people that work there, and it brought a lot of business, or it brought a lot of jobs to Montgomery, but the people in Montgomery that work there, from my understanding, is not that many that you would think for the numbers that they have. So to prevent that, you have to update city policies and plans. Also, when you bring in economics in, you have to look at the region or the area that you're bringing it in. You don't want to keep crowding east side and downtown. What part of the city, where the north side, there's a lot of industrial sites there that you can go, and you can help people in that community get jobs. You tell them also, if you want to open up here, you have to hire people from this community. That gives those people in that area a chance or first crack at the jobs, dealing with the updated of city policies and plans. Or the west side, or maybe even the south side, but we can't keep crowding a certain area. We have a trail of, we have a lot of business going on with the Lynching Memorial. You can try to backtrack off that. You can go down some of those areas and say, okay, we can build here. You have a lot of infrastructure going on in this area close to where the Lynching Memorial is. So you build on to where you have it, but you don't crowd the same areas over and over. But to make sure that our citizens and residents have first crack at it, you have to update the city policies and plans and make sure they hire a number or percentage of people that live within the city before they come in and start building. And I'm victim spelling.
Mayor, right?
I'm Stephen Reed. Thank you, Pastor, for the question. I think it's very important that economic opportunity be spread around this community. And one of the things that I would like to do is I would like to create a center for economic opportunity. And what we can do with that is we can go into underserved communities and underserved areas and look at better job training programs and inform members of the community about some of the partnerships that exist in our two-year college system, as well as with some of our private employers. One of the things that some of you may have heard me talk about, even in mentioning education, has been the apprenticeship programs. The apprenticeship programs are very, very important because whether or not you're in Colorado, if you're in the state of Washington, or you're in Middle Tennessee, more and more we're moving away from vocational training to an apprenticeship training. The two-year college program has that going right now. I don't believe we maximize that opportunity all the way through to expose young people as early as 6th grade to different careers and options and opportunities that they may not see in their immediate neighborhood or just their immediate walk of life. But with the Center for Economic Opportunity, that allows the mayor to work with private businesses, to work with the public sector in our education system, K through 12, post-secondary, and so forth, and identify areas with which we can work with working adults, people who need to be reskilled and retrained. They're already working, but we want to be able to put them in a position where they can earn a higher wage, earn a better quality of living through some of the jobs you're talking about. I think if we do that, then we'll be on the right path to making sure more local residents participate in the progress. And second, I would strongly encourage us to revise and reinforce, once we revise it, our minority business development program. I think it's very, very important that small businesses get a piece of the action, and we let them know how they can get a piece of the action, from RFP training to getting bonded, and making sure they have the necessary resources they need to be able to grow their businesses right here, so you don't see as many businesses from outside that have already done it somewhere else come in and cannibalize that opportunity. This is Stephen Reed.
Pastor, you were talking about the F-35. Again, I was around the table when we got there, negotiated, and what that's supposed to consist of is changing the airplanes out. You know, you're going to have some of the same pilots, but where the money's going to come in is they're building the runways, so it's going to be a lot of construction jobs. And going back to what Mr. Phelps said was the Hyundai has 35 employees now, 3,500 employees, when they talk about having 2,000. So they up 1,500. 75% of the people that work at Hyundai is in my commission district. 75% of the people that work at Hyundai are Montgomery. Okay. Now a lot of people consider the river region Montgomery. That's Wetumpka, Prattville, and all those areas. But I consider the river region Lowndes County because the river runs through those counties also. So, but 75% of those people at Hyundai and Opus, which is on Mitchell Young Road, are Montgomery. And one of the things that the present mayor and I did some years ago, we wanted to make sure that we kept the jobs in Montgomery anyway. We stopped getting bond counsels and stuff out of Birmingham, out of Atlanta. We found local bond counselors. We program managers for buildings and stuff. We put a couple of guys together to form TCU, things like that. You know, we've been doing that for years. So what you're talking about doing, we've been doing that for years. That was a vision of mine for many, many years ago, to keep the money in Montgomery. And we are doing a lot of it, but still, you got a lot of people that financing some of these campaigns that from way out East Coast, West Coast, special interest group, but they want to come into Montgomery. There's a lot of things going on in Montgomery now, and people want a piece of action. So we just need to be careful about who we do business with here in Montgomery. We need to keep it low. And okay, Cuban, what is that, 10 seconds? I am Elton Dean, chairman of the Montgomery County Commission.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Artur Davis. Let me pick up on something you mentioned, Commissioner, and I won't pick on the candidate from Pike Road who's not here tonight, but I got where you're going with that. Let me make this point, though. The F-35 has an opportunity to be the beginning of a new regional corridor from Montgomery to Auburn to Tuskegee. We're having a conversation about economic development using 1980s and 1990s concepts around boundaries. And the world today, and the virtual world, Montgomery, Auburn, and Tuskegee might as well be one community. So let's start acting like it. We ought to use the F-35 as the leverage to create a new high-tech defense corridor that spans down 85 until you get to the Georgia border. It will strengthen Auburn, it will strengthen Tuskegee, and somebody listening is saying, why is a guy running for mayor of Montgomery talking about strengthening Auburn and Tuskegee? Because regionalism is what dynamic communities invest in. Our neighbors to the north understand that if Mountain Brook and Hoover thrive, Birmingham thrives too. We have to build a sense of connectivity between Montgomery and the cities around us. If we do that, if we create a new high-tech defense corridor between Montgomery and Tuskegee, all of us will get more jobs. The economic profile of all of our areas will increase. The educational capacity of all of our areas will increase. We have to start looking at economic development through the lens of the 21st century and not these outmoded concepts of communities competing against each other. Mayor Woodfin of Birmingham is leading in this regard. Montgomery needs to lead in this regard as well.
Well, one of the things you talked about creating more tech jobs, I think one of the first things that we have to do is, one, create a workforce here in Montgomery to be able to accept those jobs. Now, I had an opportunity to serve on the Board of Economic Development for the City of Atlanta, create about 25,000 jobs and about $2 billion of direct investment in the city. And one of the things when you look at it, if we're going to be competitive in this field of technology and make sure that people in Montgomery have access to those jobs, so we got to cultivate a workforce. And when I talk about cultivating a workforce, that means we've got to work with our K through 12 schools, public, private, and now charter, to begin offering coding and programming at the K through 12 level. We've also at that same time have to go to our college and universities in the area, Alabama State, AUM, Faulkner, Troy, to begin Tuskegee, to begin offering majors in those fields. So we go out and recruit, and the people come from the F-35, recruiting other companies to come here for technology. When they ask you, where are we going to get our employers, you're going to say, we're going to get them here from Montgomery. Now, one of the other things you talked about was ensuring that people who had been underserved and locked out of opportunities have access to jobs, and also their communities have access to development. And that's why one of the major things that I'm going to do, one of the first things I do when elected mayor, is I'm going to go ahead and appoint an economic development director to be a cabinet level position in my office. Now, how we've handled development really in the city, the mayor's office has kind of allowed the chamber to drive that car. But having a background in economic development and knowing that I'm going to be accountable to you, the voters, and the people listening tonight, for what does or doesn't happen in the communities, then I'm going to have to have my hand on that wheel. And so we're going to be at the forefront of spurring development. And it's going to be someone who has development bringing projects at a large national level, particularly in underserved areas, so that people's zip codes don't determine their access to growth and development here in the city.
I'm David Woods. I think the question is, how do we make sure that the F-35 squadron that's coming here will employ local people? Is that correct? Well, I think the simple answer is we need to make sure our workforce is prepared and trained for those jobs. And a new company, it's much more economical to hire locally than it is to relocate a workforce from other states. We can start with our schools. This gets back to education. We need to make sure we properly educate our students so that they are equipped for the jobs that are going to be here upon graduation. We've got Trenum Tech, a wonderful school here. Trenum's in a great position to produce graduates who are well equipped for the jobs that will be available with the F-35 squadron. We've got two guys in Montgomery that know a lot about these jobs. And what we need to do is sit down and find out what types of jobs will be available, what skill sets does our workforce need to have, and try to make sure we spend the next 3 or 4 years training them. The F-35 is not going to be active until 2022. But the two guys are Adam Sanders, who's the liaison for the Air Force, and David Donovan, the architect. These two gentlemen, who I've sat down and met with, can explain to us a lot about what we need to have in terms of the workforce in order to meet the needs that the Air Force will have at the F-35 squadron here at Danley Field. So I think we need to be proactive in that regard to make sure that they don't need to look anywhere else. They have plenty of applicants here to fulfill the positions that are going to be created in the next 4 years. Thank you.
Follow up with that question from Pastor Austin. How would you ensure, being mayor of the city of Montgomery, that we are not the renters, we are the owners of these economic developments coming here? How would you make sure that minorities and people in our city are not just employees, but the owners of these companies and businesses coming here?
Pastor Artur Davis, we're trying to keep our own count of who's next, and I think it's me. You asked a very important question because there's reality behind it that all of y'all listening tonight understand. We got Hyundai 18 years ago, and we were told it would be a spur to minority investment. It has not been. And We have made good but not great economic strides in this city in the last 6 or 7 years coming out of the recession. Those good but not great, somewhat modest strides have not touched minority entrepreneurship in Montgomery. This is a community that frankly has too high a black politician to black millionaire ratio. This is a community that still thinks inclusion for black folks is black folks winning political offices, whereas cities like Birmingham and Atlanta will tell you inclusion means African American and people of color being included in the ranks of millionaires, being included in the ranks of owners of downtown hotels, being included in the owners of various business structures we have in this city. It is incumbent on the next mayor of Montgomery to make sure that folks who are on the bench right now, and that's the minority business community, get off the bench and get to start. That's absolutely critical. Now, we're not going to do it through set-asides. We're not going to do it through political cronyism. We're not going to do it through the, well, you supported me, so now I'm going to give you business kind of ways that some cities have done it. The way we're going to do it is we're going to link thriving businesses to emerging minority businesses, and we're going to say you're going to be partners together. And we're going to create a standard in this city that if the city of Montgomery has a relationship with you, you as a business are going to turn around and reciprocally invest in the minority communities. My final point, it is shameful that we are standing here off the Southern Boulevard. We got an airport across the street from us, Hyundai around the corner from us, and virtually nothing in this part of town. This is the least around an airport you will find anywhere in America. What we have to do is to start to better leverage the tools and assets we have. We did not do it with Hyundai. We did not do it with the airport. If I'm mayor of this city, we are going to do it with the F-35 and with the tourism explosion that we see downtown.
I want to introduce someone to you. She happens to be in the audience. We talk about what we're going to do. I want to show you what we're doing now. Carmen Moore Ziegler, will you stand up? This is the lady that handles the minority initiative for the city of Montgomery and Montgomery County. She has over 300 minority businesses in her repertoire. She's on contract with the city of Montgomery right now in Montgomery County to make the things happen that we're talking about tonight, making sure that blacks and minorities can get a piece of the action. And I just wish if you want to talk to her later, or the next day or whatever, you should, because these are things that we are doing now. We talk about opportunities. There's Bishop Lewis that just told me the other day that he's sitting on about 20 acres. He wants to build a hotel and some other things right here. Those are the type of things that we should have. We could have had a Walmart on the corner of Western Boulevard and Mobile Highway. But we had a store at the time said he was going to bring Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton in the town because he had a grocery store and it would stop his business. Those grocery stores are not open now, plus we don't have that Walmart. So a lot of things we've been doing over the years have been cut out because of us. Because of us. I tell people all the time when I'm talking to them, who've ever heard me talk, we got an East Chase, I want a West Chase. That's what I want. All the jobs, a lot of times, most of the jobs, rooftops follow jobs. That didn't happen for Hyundai and Mobis and all that. When East Montgomery flourished, that's because they had done an industrial park. Montgomery Mall, Eastdale Mall was built, and the houses and stuff behind it. That has not happened. Woodcrest, where we're at tonight, is the last middle class, this is not middle class now, residency that was built on this west side, in this west bedroom, I would say the west bedroom. So we are doing things now as we speak to make these type of things happen. And we will continue to do that. I'm Elton Dean.
I'm Stephen Reed. Dr. Austin, Pastor Austin, you asked the question about how do we make sure we are owners and not renters in these opportunities that we're talking about, economic opportunity. Well, one of the things that determines whether or not you're an owner of anything is access to capital. So we have to have access to capital in order to make sure that we are not just playing in the political parlance, we're playing the economic progress of this city and of this community. When you look about it, when you look about this throughout this country, that hasn't happened. So it's not just here in Montgomery. That's not to make an excuse for why it hasn't happened here. There have been some outliers across the country, but by and large, minorities and African Americans do not have the household income, the net worth of those of our counterparts in the white community. The biggest hurdle to that has been access to capital. What we have to do is to partner with financial institutions such as Chase Manhattan, Chase Bank. Chase has established a Advancing Black Pathways initiative nationwide. For those of you who do not know, but Chase is the world's largest bank. And they have established this in areas such as Baltimore, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and so forth. Well, I happen to know the author of that plan. His name is Sekou Kirkland. And I talked to Sekou when they initiated this plan, and I said, will you come to Alabama? He said, we don't have a branch in Alabama. And I said, well, not yet. I said, regardless of that, I want you to look at investing in Alabama and Montgomery specifically. Because I believe if Chase Bank does it, not Chase Manhattan anymore, if Chase does it, then I believe we'll see other banks doing it. Wells Fargo, BBVA, and others. Well, as an advisory board member to Trustmark, I sent that announcement to the Trustmark headquarters in Jackson. And I asked the CEO and the COO what we could do, not only in Montgomery, Alabama, to provide more access to capital, but what we could do throughout this region to make sure that our businesses are getting access to capital so that they can own, they can get bonded, and they can expand to participate in these types of opportunities. And I believe from the city standpoint, if they do business in the city, if they do business in this community, as mayor, I will make sure they're reciprocating, including everyone, and providing an equal chance for access to capital for their ideas and for their businesses. Thank you.
Victorsville, again, that will be part of updating the city policies and plans. We can't say that because it's a black community, they don't have money. We all probably know someone that's probably doing something they don't have in their business, that has a lot of money, but they invest that money into something that they shouldn't. But we've had the proper programs to catch our kids early enough to teach them and have them understand ownership early. And I think that would change the dynamics of the situation that they are in now. Instead of growing up thinking, I want to work for this corporation or work for that corporation, you grow up thinking, okay, I'm going to own my own. But it has been a stigma attached to us. I know someone that works with AIDT, and one of the biggest things that they say is, well, we can't hire anyone because they can't pass a drug test. To me, I don't think it's that many people in Montgomery on drugs that you get to the point where you can't hire them or no one's in the city can get a job and you can send them out. So to me, when it comes to the stigma that is attached to us, and when it comes to the lack of resources and funding that we have in certain communities, and when it comes to the mindset that we have in these certain communities, we aren't taught the proper way to invest. We're taught to keep doing what we're doing. If you have the money and it's illegal money, you're not taught to change or flip it or get out of the game and not continue to travel down this path, and to have the younger ones watch you and travel down that path also. Take your money, clean it up, invest in it, build from it. Take the younger person that's watching you, show them how to build, show them how to invest, and that way we can get ownership, and also with the updating, again, of the city policies and plans. Make these people do for you.
I'm David Woods. My vision for Montgomery is to create a unified, prosperous, and safer city. I have a heart for all people. As I said earlier, I'm a religious man. God makes it real clear that everyone's the same in His eyes. And so the opportunity should be the same for everyone. There's a lot of things we can do to try to improve the opportunities for minorities. Education is a good start. My son Drew spends a lot of time at Sidney Lanier High School. QB Ray knows this, with Dr. Antonio Williams. He's a volunteer. So this is a business, private-public partnership. Our business, WCOV TV, sends an employee to City of Lanier regularly to help these students learn technical skills. He's been doing this for 3 or 4 years. Matter of fact, Drew was chosen City of Lanier's Business Partner of the Year last year. So there's an enormous amount of opportunity if we get the business community involved with minorities who are up and coming. I think we need to create more mentoring programs where we take existing business owners and ask them to spend time with younger people to sort of somewhat share how they became successful. And a lot of guys that have been, and ladies who have been successful in business would probably just jump at the opportunity to work with younger people. So I really think the mentoring program would work extremely well in terms of helping minorities. Another thing, at WCOV, we do a lot of business with startup businesses, a lot of minority businesses. And our sales team spends time with these operators and tries to explain marketing concepts, because our business in television is to help other businesses succeed. If we don't help businesses succeed, they don't stay with us. So we're highly motivated to work with upstart businesses in order for them to be successful and to remain clients on WCOV television. So we're really in the business of helping people become business owners. A lot of people we deal with are managers. Later they branch out, they come to us, we give them the marketing advice, and so when they go into business, they know how to create and build a client base. So anyhow, I believe that the business community has an enormous responsibility, and as I said earlier, I'm going to be a mayor for all people. And it's in my heart to try to help minorities become owners as opposed to renters, Stephen, and move forward and enjoy some of the opportunities associated with having a different role and being in an ownership role, and we'll go forth from there. But that's really what's in my heart. It's not what some people say things, but I know what God expects. And I'm very cautious about trying to be an obedient child of God. And that's what we plan to do. Thank you.
Good evening, this is J.C. Love. I think one of the major things that a mayor does is he sets priorities and directs resources. And so I'm going to tell you here tonight that as mayor that we're going to have a strong minority business enterprise program here in the city. Now, when you talk about the role model for this program, you think about Maynard Jackson back in Atlanta back in '73. That he went and had the political courage in the face of a lot of opposition to create a program to provide opportunities for people who had been excluded. 4 years ago, there was an article that touted that Montgomery had beat out Atlanta and D.C. and some other cities for having the largest number of black-owned businesses in the country. And I believe Arthur Davis wrote an op-ed on that pointed out that none of those businesses were even large enough to hire employees. So one of the major things when you're talking about setting up a minority business enterprise program, you first have to do a disparity study. And you've got to go ahead and show that there's been a problem, that groups, minorities, blacks, women, have been historically excluded from these procurement opportunities. And then make it a priority to go ahead and when you're making these procurement opportunities, that minorities are sitting at the table. And one other thing we talked about is access to capital, which is huge when dealing with minority businesses. And I think one of the other things that you can do as mayor is we can go ahead and talk to our local banks that are holding city money to make that money a bit more available to the black and female-owned business here in this city. And that in turn will go ahead and spur growth, and also spur more access to capital and allow more businesses to thrive. So we won't have any businesses that are too small to go ahead and hire employees. But we have situations where now we've created our own ecosystem, where now people have the ability to hire other people and be able to grow, and then we have a culture like other cities of a culture of black millionaires here in Montgomery.
Thank you.